All right, let's go ahead and get started. Perfect. So, yes, it is being announced. This session is starting now. So hopefully everyone is here. I am happy to see the number of attendees, and I'm very excited. So, hello everyone. If you are in the right place, if you're in the Tech Careers in Government session, we're so thrilled to join Techeria and be with all of you today. This is our third time attending the summit, and it's always a great experience. So we're really, really happy to be here. So I'll start with introducing myself. My name is Omar Gonzalez. My pronouns are he, him, and I will be your moderator for today's session. I'm a talent lead in the Technology Transformation Services, most commonly known as TTS, which is part of a federal agency called the General Services Administration, or GSA. I know that is a bit confusing and a bit of a mouthful, but don't worry about it. If you have questions about where exactly we live in government, go ahead and put it in the chat. Otherwise, hopefully it'll all make sense throughout the session. So one thing that links all of my colleagues on the panel today is that we believe all of our skills in combination with technology can improve communities and translate into massive impact for public good to address some of the nation's biggest challenges. So some of these challenges are the baby formula shortage, families without food, unemployment insurance, homelessness. These are just some of the challenges that we're trying to face through technology, through civic tech here at TTS. And this type of work is labeled as civic tech. So that's what we do. We do civic tech. We're using technology to connect or sort of decrease that bridge or gap between the American public and the government in order for easier access to services, information, etc. So our end user is the American public. All right, so let's pause to do a quick informal poll to see who we have here with us today. We're just curious about a couple of things. First question, do you think that there are a lot of roles in technology in government that would be a good fit for you? So I'm going to put your options in the chat. So 1 second. And by the way, I have 2 screens, so that's why I'm like, my gaze is going up and down. But the question is, do you think that there are a lot of roles in technology in government that would be a good fit for you? If your answer is yes, please reply with the number 1. If your answer is no, please reply with the number 2. And if you're not sure, you don't have enough information, go ahead and drop a number 3. So I will give it a minute to see what people respond. Lots of 3s. I like 3s. 3s are good because that means you're curious. You want to learn more. And that gives us an opportunity to showcase what we do here. So I'm seeing all 3s actually, which is good. Awesome. Great. Okay, cool. And we really value continuous learning. So this is great. All right, so one more question. What's your area of expertise? Please drop it in the chat. There are no right or wrong answers. Some of your answers might include product, design / experience, software, data and AI, digital strategy and transformation, entrepreneurship, or literally anything else. We're just curious to see what our audience, what type of professional background you all have. Okay, linguist for AI, software developer, data, testing, QA, former educator. Former educators, you always hit the ground running. I love it. Software engineering and product design, paralegal. We also have needs for paralegals in government. Data, customer success. Awesome. These are all skill sets that we need in government in civic tech. So when I think of civic tech in the world that we all work in, I think of it as creating solutions to enable the government to make communities better. It encapsulates both technology and technologists. So without our people, we can't do any of this. Because the work we do is all about the people, processes, and organizations, not just the tech tools. Ultimately, we are trying to deliver services to the public and increase engagement with the public. With access to all kinds of services being increasingly digital now, it's more important now than ever. So TTS's mission is to improve the public's experience with government by transforming how the government uses technology. I'm sure some of you are like, the government is very outdated. We're trying to fix that. So think of things like when you file your taxes, when you need to get a passport, etc. I'm sure there's no one in this room that has never had to go through a process of using Civic tech. So we're trying to make that so much better. There are tons of projects for us to work on. I mean, you can only imagine every transaction that we do that is government related, right? So this work happens through different teams like the Presidential Innovation Fellows, or PIF, which is an amazing 2-year fellowship for senior talent. We have 18F. You can think of 18F as sort of like a consultancy. We have the US Digital Core, which is our entry-level or career changer 2-year fellowship, newly launched, awesome program, and the Centers of Excellence, which focuses more on like complete digital transformations, and products and services like the FedRAMP program, cloud.gov, vote.gov, and USA.gov, which is a huge product for us in service. And this is just to name a few of the products and services and fellowships that live within TTS. The whole world of civic tech is only possible because developers, data scientists, product managers, researchers, strategists, designers, communicators, operation wizards, and more, and hopefully some of you in our audience today, because some of these individuals are part of the mix in bringing in your expertise and talent. And we definitely need more of all of you. So the fact that you're here and interested puts a huge smile on my face. All right, so then today we are here to get your feet wet and take a deeper dive into how and why we're all building careers in community in civic tech, and why you should consider it too, even if it hasn't been on your radar. So I'm excited to finally speak to my fellow colleagues here. So my fellow panelists are colleagues of mine at TTS. So I will start with introducing them. We are joined by Rebecca Lamadrid, who is the Executive Director of the Presidential Innovation Fellows, or PIF. So Rebecca, if you want to wave so people know who you are, awesome. We also have Leilani Martinez, who is our Acting Director of the Public Experience Portfolio, which includes USA.gov. And then we're joined by Diana Salazar-Foreman, who is our Marketing and Outreach Lead for the US Digital Core, which is what I mentioned earlier as an early career / career changer 2-year fellowship. So in case you do have to drop early, if you'd like to learn more about technology transformation services and opportunities in civic tech, including how to navigate the federal hiring process, my colleagues and I will be at the TTS Tequeria virtual booth right after. And you can find us also at join.tts.gsa.gov online. So my colleague Marissa is also in the chat. And I'm sure she'll share that link as well. And you'll also notice there are a lot of acronyms in government that we use. So if my fellow panelists and I use one of those acronyms and you don't recognize, just please call us out in the chat. It's very second nature to government employees to use acronyms. And we're also going to try to squeeze in a few audience questions. So drop them in the chat as well, and we'll get to as many as we can. All right, let's finally get started. Thank you all for indulging me in that long rant. All right, so let's start with the first question, and I'm very excited to hear my colleagues' answers. So I'm actually going to start with Diana. Diana, what's your why for government service? What was your path to public service? How did you end up here? Can you please share a bit about your personal story, background, and what attracted you to TTS, and tell us a little bit about your role and area of expertise?
Sure. And as Omar mentioned, I'm Diana Salazar-Foreman, pronounced she, her, ella. And so my path to public service, I think, came very early. I I'm an immigrant to the U.S. and also the first person in my family to go to college. And because of this experience, I always knew I wanted to do work somewhere where I was helping others in similar positions as mine get, get have an easier experience than I did and get the services they need. So I always have like a call for public service. At first, I thought I was going to do like international education, international relations. So I work with nonprofits in after graduation. I work with nonprofits in the realm, and then I also lived in China and taught English there for a year. But then I'm like, well, this is helping like the international community, but not so much people in the US. So after I came back from teaching in China, I applied to AmeriCorps, which if you don't know, is like the Peace Corps, but you do work here in the US. And I work with DC public schools to help them improve their after school programming by doing outreach to nonprofits. So I did that for a couple of years. And because of that experience, there is a hiring authority that government can use to make it easier for folks who have done AmeriCorps or Peace Corps to apply for federal jobs. So I used that hiring authority, and the jobs that were offered, one was for a place called GSA, and I'm like, okay, don't know what GSA is. Most people don't know about the General Service Administration when they think about government, and if you don't know, they pretty much just provide all the agencies with everything they need. And so I'm like, well, they will need a communications outreach admin. And I was very early on my communications career. I'm like, well, this seems like an opportunity for me to learn from others how to do comms. So I applied and I ended up in place here at TTS. And I've been here for 5 years now. And I'm a part of that TTS outreach team, which covers all things comms. And I can share a little bit more about that later, but that was like how I got here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diana. Definitely a very interesting background for sure. So thank you for sharing your path to, landing here at TTS, and we're so lucky to have you. So I'm going to ask the same question to Leilani. Leilani, what was your why for government services?
So hello, everyone. My name is Leilani Martinez, like Omar said, pronouns she, her, ella. I'm so happy to be here. And hopefully you're enjoying this wonderful background. I'm in my daughter's room. I just moved. So this is the only room that's actually semi-decent. So I didn't realize that the lights are there. So hopefully it's quite festive. So in terms of my path, it's interesting because I never really considered government as an option. I never knew or kind of thought of government as a viable place for me to work. But one thing I knew, I moved to DC in 1994 to go to grad school. And I became really involved with Latinx organizations, really at the grassroots level. And that gave me a lot of satisfaction working with the Latinx community in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. So even though I have an undergrad in French literature and psychology and MBA in international business and marketing, there was this sense that I really wanted to give back to the community, and that gave me a lot of satisfaction. But still, I never realized government could be an option for me. But then one day in 2003, I came across an opportunity where I saw that the U.S. government was launching the official portal of the U.S. government in Spanish. And it was like an aha moment of like, huh, really? At that point, I had already been working with the World Bank for several years, and I became really interested in technology. I was part of a team that was redesigning websites, kind of rethinking how we were delivering information, but more kind of in that international kind of context, similar to what you were saying, Diana, too. But then there was something about this announcement, this job position, Spanish, technology, helping the community. So I wanted to be part of that. So I applied and I got selected to launch the first and the only official website of the U.S. government in Spanish, now known as USA.gov en Español. But, I want to kind of mention that was not really my background. Technology kind of found me. And I was able to combine these passions of mine helping the Latinx community, and at the same time using different types of channels to let people know that they had access to all these government resources. For me, that's really what drives me. That our community many times don't know that there are resources for them available to them, that they have rights, that they can actually have access to certain things to improve their lives. So I was able to bring all these things together. And now after almost 18, 19 years in government, I realized that that has been one of the best decisions in my life from my professional standpoint, because it doesn't matter how things change, the evolution of technology, the mission remains the same at the organization level, but also individually. I'm here to help the public, and a special emphasis on the Spanish-speaking community, and that drives me every single day.
Thanks so much, Leilani. And I will say you are a huge advocate for Spanish language content access to the American public. So that is very dear and near to my heart, as my parents still struggle with their English. So thank you for everything you do, truly. Yeah, it's impressive. All right, Rebecca, same question for you. What's your why for government service?
Thank you, Omar. Hi, Rebecca La Madrid, she, her. My why? Different than Diana and Leilani, I would say, but there's so many similarities as well. I began my career in Mexico. I was born and raised in Mexico, and I began my career in a field that creatively uses math and processes for results. So I found myself working in the beginning of my career in GE, doing tech and digital modernization. I was part of the first paperless initiative there. I'm dating myself here a little bit, but that was really interesting. And fast forward, I stumbled upon the nonprofit sector here in Washington, D.C., and that was also a very interesting white space that allowed me to bring forward some of this skill that perhaps wasn't as represented in the landscape that I was in, and I was able to do different types of projects, from improve product offerings, or cultivate a culture of data or customer experience within the nonprofit world. And then I in 2019 I became an American citizen, just with a deep desire to exercise my vote, and I was a little bit more close to just the work that government was doing, and I applied for to lead the Presidential Innovation Fellows Program, a now 10-year-old program fellowship that is about bringing the bright technologists, entrepreneurs, innovators into government, and truly tackle challenges at a scale. So I would say that the thread of my story is that once I got into mission-led type of work, where the outcome has a big impact in people's lives, that is very attractive to me. And in government, the impact is just so large. I'm new to government. I've been here for only 6 months. But I've been loving it, and being at the center of building modern government for the people, with the people, by the people, and has been just a pretty awesome experience so far.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. As you can all tell, we all have different experiences and different paths into how we got into government. The one thing I did notice, though, which I'm puts a smile on my face is that we're all immigrants in one way or the other. So thank you all for sharing your experiences. Leilani, I'm going to ask you specifically the next couple of questions because I know you might have to hop off early. So if anybody has questions for Leilani, please put them in the chat. But could you tell us a little bit about your professional experience within government? And specifically, can you share one example of how you apply your skills, expertise to public service and government technology?
Yes. So yes, if people have questions, please let me know. I do have to disconnect a little bit early to pick up my daughter from school. So I've talked a little bit about how I got into government, but then the 18, 19 years that I've been in government have been quite interesting, and it hasn't been quite linear. I've had the opportunity to actually be exposed to many different projects and efforts. So yes, I came into government to launch the official website of the U.S. government in Spanish, USA Gov en Español, which is this kind of the counterpart of USA.gov. But in government, I've actually played different roles. I was the manager of the site for a while, but then I moved into other areas that were more agency facing. So the work that I currently do and that I used to do was really engaging and interacting with the public on a daily basis. But for a while, I actually worked in different efforts like Digital Gov, Challenge.gov. These are all actually initiatives that, yes, the end goal is to help the public, but really is working with different federal agencies to ensure that we're collaborating, we're coming together to provide better service to the public. And I also worked quite a bit on what was called back in the day, I'm also dating myself, Rebecca, with this, new media, back in the 2000s earlier, when government started experimenting with social media. We were one of the first groups at GSA to kind of launch Twitter and Facebook and to use that to engage with the public as well in both English and Spanish. So point being that I had the opportunity, and I actually pursued that. I wanted to be kind of exposed and involved in different aspects of government to be able to gain experiences in different and skills in different areas. Right now, I am the acting director of what we call the Public Experience Portfolio. And the Public Experience Portfolio is responsible for USA.gov, USA.gov en Español, Vote.gov, which is the official website for all voting-related registration information in English, Spanish, and multiple languages, and Search.gov, which is the search engine that many agencies, federal agencies, use. And the beauty of this engine is that it only gets results from the government. So whatever you search and the results that you're going to get, you can be assured that they're official results. So the journey has been wonderful. One of the most amazing moments for me, going back to your other question, Omar, was one of the key roles that we play in TTS, and specifically with USA.gov and USA Gov en Español, is that during times of emergency, we are designated by the Department of Homeland Security as the official lane for public communication from the federal government. So we are really the official channel that communicates to the public in regards to what the government is doing during certain hurricanes or during even COVID-19, etc. So recently, especially after the really devastating news the last few weeks with Hurricane Ian and Fiona, if you go to our website, you will see that we aggregate content from across the government on all the resources and services and programs available to the public to help them prepare or recover after the emergency had happened. And one of the most amazing moments for me was during Hurricane Maria. I am from Puerto Rico, a proud Boricua, And it actually was one of those moments that everything came full circle for me, because at that time I was part of the team helping with the recovery aspect from the information side of things. At the same time, I'm trying to figure out where my family is. I couldn't connect with them. So it was a wonderful moment in the middle of this devastation and sadness to be able to use my role to help my community and the island where I grew up with. So it was one of the most amazing moments that government allowed me to actually use my culture, my language, my role, and the resources available to me and the team to help our people.
That's amazing, Leilani. And honestly, you know, the team that you work and the team that you lead, it really helps people when they're at their most vulnerable for various reasons. So this is the type of work that we do at TTS, right? Really helping the American public. And Leilani, so as Leilani stated, you know, Leilani, you lead a multidisciplinary portfolio. And you provided some awesome examples on the type of work that you do. But could you share, or I know there's one role that we're all excited to be hiring for, the bilingual designer role. But could you share a little bit about the different kinds of skill sets or expertise needed on your team and really at TTS? What would you be looking for?
Yes, we need it all. We need a lot of passion, of course, and commitment, and love to really help the public. I do have to say, when I talk to my team, we all share that in common, and that makes things so much easier. People really are committed to help the public. But in terms of disciplines, we have it all. So the public experience portfolio where USA.gov sits, we have developers, we have accessibility experts, we have content strategists, we have outreach and communication, people with that kind of background to help with the social media and the email marketing piece. We have analytics, you like data, and you like to analyze trends, etc. We need that as well. User experience, product managers. So many times when I reach out to people to try to let them know about the work that we do, and they hear civic tech, they're like, no, I don't code. I'm like, well, okay, you don't, but do you write? Do you like to write? Do you like data? Do you like to manage things, complex projects? There's space for you, and I think actually that's what makes us really powerful. One of the things we're doing more and more in the public experience portfolio is really bringing together people from different disciplines to try to tackle big and small problems, and that's where we see the magic. We actually we're in the process of reimagining USA.gov and USA.gov in Espanol. We actually have some beta sites up if you want to check them out, beta.usa.gov. And how we came about that project, we brought together people from content side, from the UX side, from the data side, and we created small teams to tackle different parts of our site and come up with recommendations. And I think actually the product is so much better. Instead of working in silos, we brought together people from all these disciplines and experiences and perspectives, because it's really important for us that our products really meet the needs of underserved communities. So that's really important for us. All our teams are integrated. We have bilingual, bicultural people in every team. So all that coming together, it's really where magic happens. So if you have any doubts, if there's a role for you, there is a role for you in government. We need all kinds of disciplines and all kinds of experiences. I am not a technologist. I don't code. I'm really more of a content person, and working with UXers and data analysts, etc. That's where we're able to create the products that we create.
Thank you so much, Leilani. And yes, +1 to we need all types of talent. We need all types of individuals, backgrounds, experiences, because the more diverse we are, the better we're able to serve the American public. So thank you so much, Leilani. I don't know if you have to drop already, but we all really appreciate your input here. And thank you for sharing your experiences. And if anybody has questions for Leilani, I know Marissa's dropping some like an email and links, and we'll be happy to share those questions with Leilani for sure. So thank you so much. All right, so now I'm going to pick on you, Rebecca. Kind of the same question. I know that you run the Presidential Innovation Fellows program, well known for bringing diverse and unique skill sets into the government. And this is a very senior level program. So the fact that you have such a diverse cohort every year is really amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about the profile and types of individuals that PIF is looking for?
Absolutely, Omar. Thank you for that question. Similar to what Leilani shared, I think that it's quite varied and there's a space for everyone. You don't necessarily have to code, although we have coders. You can be technical or you can be a strategist. So at the Presidential Innovation Fellows, what we're looking is for designers, entrepreneurs, strategists, people that, I think that one important thing is that they have a track record of doing something remarkable, and that gives them a perspective that we really want in government. This fellowship is designed for it to be a tour of duty of sorts, where they come for a short period of time to tackle big challenges. So I would say that we are looking also for people that have the ability to understand how to manage change in a complex environment. Some of this work is complex and difficult, but at the same time pretty rewarding. There's sometimes it takes a lot. So we're looking for that grit, that resilience, that experience. So these fellows can truly advise leaders within government to make important change and drive better government for the people. I would say another part of our magic recipe, or a recipe that gets that magic aspect, is diversity. Diversity of thought, diversity of background, diversity of lived experience. We really believe that is at the core of innovation, where we are able to bring different perspectives, different angles, different opinions, and different best practices, or best practices as a whole, to tackle things. But and I would say the other thing that we're looking for is that individuals that are interested in giving back to their country, individuals that want and are excited about driving impact at scale, and that is a type of person. So it's a broad statement, what I just defined. I think we're really looking for people that can help us make better government, and can do it from experience in industry. Small startup, big company, it doesn't matter. We just want. I think that there's a challenge out there in government for any of those experiences. So that is what makes the Presidential Innovation Fellows a very interesting and exciting and pretty remarkable program.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Absolutely. I had the privilege of working with PIF last year, and it was amazing. Talent and different backgrounds that PIF hires. And if anyone is interested, I know Marissa's sharing pif.gov to sign up and be alerted as soon as applications are being accepted. All right, Diana, same question for you. I know you're a storyteller, a communicator. And like myself, we're not necessarily technologists. I would describe us as technology adjacent. But can you share a little bit about your role and why TTS hires folks from so many disciplines and areas? And I know you work with early career individuals, so I'd love your insight into that as well.
Sure, I'm going to start to tell you a little bit about how someone like me and Omar, who are not technology people, are needed here at TTS, or staff does amazing work, amazing products and programs that help the American public. But we need to let you all know that this is happening, that those products exist, that those services are available. So that's where me and the TTS Average team come in, because they can do all the great work, but it wouldn't make sense if no one knew about it. So we help tell those stories. I first, as I mentioned, first started as an admin assistant, and one thing I really like about here at TTS is that if you're interested in something, you're given the space to try it out. So when I started as an admin, I got interested into digital marketing, so social media, blogging, websites, and through my work experience here, I was able to learn those skills, and then I was able to grow on that department to the point where I'm now, which is now I'm like the digital marketing lead for TTS, which is really exciting. So as long as you have the drive at TTS, you are able to gain the skills if it's something you're interested in and move around, which I have. As I mentioned, I started at 18F, and now I work with the digital core. So tell you a little bit about the digital core. So the digital core was launched last year by the Biden-Harris administration to bring early technology talent to work in government. As Rebecca mentioned, we have programs like the Presidential Innovation Fellows, and Omar mentioned 18F, who are more mid to senior level technologists that come into government. But we learned in the past couple of years that we also need that entry level people as well, especially as people term out or retire, which is there's a big retirement wave coming for government. So we needed an easier path for entry level folks to come into government. And by entry level, I mean anything from undergraduate, graduate, PhD, or folks who had long careers and are now transitioning into tech. Anyone who has, at least 1 year of experience working in tech. So we created this opportunity. As I mentioned, the program was launched last year. So my supervisor was like, hey, we want you to be the communications lead for this program that is launching, in 3 months. I'm like, great. I've been doing digital marketing by most of my time, but because of, all the different experiences, I had a little bit of experience on content, a little bit of experience on press. And so I'm like, well, let's try this. So thankfully, the digital core leadership team and coworkers are great. So we work together to have a very successful launch. We created campaigns around social media and work with other agencies to help promote this opportunity as well. So a lot of cross-agency collaboration. There's a lot of that we do here at TTS. And we thankfully did really well. And on the first week of application, we got 1,000 applications, which is amazing. And then from those 1,000 applications, we have now 38 awesome fellows doing amazing work at 12 different government agencies. We have fellows in 5 different tracks. We do software engineer, design, cybersecurity, product management. I'm forgetting. We're design.
Data.
And data and analytics. Yes, thank you.
We always forget one. Data.
One. Omar has been with me at different events. He knows I always forget one. Data and analytics. And at 12 different agencies doing amazing work. And yeah, so definitely a lot of opportunities for many people here in government, as Omar, Rebecca, and Leilani mentioned, anything, not just tech, you need communications people like me, you need talent people like Omar, we have an amazing events team that help us get here, people like Marisa and our other events people that have amazing tracking the skills, keeping on track. Logistics people, we have lawyers, we have that make sure that we, stay on track and follow all government policies. There's so many opportunities that even when I first started here, I didn't know until I got, but now I'm letting you all know we need all the skills, not just tech skills.
Thanks so much, Diana. Absolutely. And as you can all tell, we have opportunities ranging from entry level, mid-career to senior. We do civic tech, so most of the roles we hire for are going to be technology based, but we also have a huge need for non-technical roles as well. So there are opportunities for really almost anyone who is interested in doing mission-driven work. All right, so I do want to be conscious of time, and I want to make sure that we hear more of your input and your experiences. So Rebecca, I'll ask you this next question. Could you share a little bit about your personal experience and career with government? And I would love your insight into this because I know you're newer into government. And what has surprised you about being in government?
That's a good question, Omar. It's been fascinating. I was government adjacent, so I knew government more from the grantee side of things. So I knew some of its complexities, but I think being inside reveals a different take. I would say that it is so large, it's so big, and that is different for sure. I think not necessarily a surprise, but like very rewarding to see that there's a lot of really, really smart people truly working really, really hard to keep all of the services, like Leilani mentioned, all of this different products for the American public be as good as they could be, with insight from the public and for the public. So I would say that it's been very rewarding. I came in as a political appointee to government, so that is a little bit different, but at the same time, just gives me a very good understanding of how government puts together its talent and the different layers of complexity and how we work together to get the work done. What else is a surprise? I would say that being Latina and being someone that is a new immigrant, that is new to government, this is an environment that is welcoming. I think that there's different resources, there's different groups. At TTS, we have the Latinx community, which Diana, Omar, and myself, meet from time to time and just talk about, what it is to be a Latino, a Hispanic within government. At the political level, there's also like a group of Latinos for the administration. So there's a place for everyone. And yeah, I also would say that this experience have made me realize how, a lot about my identity and how important it is to come in and represent my true self, because we actually are here serving the public, and my perspective, my accent, the fact that I'm bilingual, the fact that I'm new immigrant, that all of that like plays into the mix and matters as a perspective. So that's rewarding. So I don't know if that I gave you a lot of surprises, Omar, but more of my take in this past 6 months of public service.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to all of that, and maybe not surprises to us, but I'm sure the audience is interested in having more insight on what has surprised us from being in government. And Diana, same question for you. I know that you shared with us earlier your journey and trajectory to where you're currently at. But could you also share a little bit about your personal experience and career with government, and also anything that has surprised you?
Yeah, sure. So similar to Rebecca, I first thought that maybe, the fact that I have an accent or the fact that I am Latina may have been like a difficult to work in government, but definitely that was not the case. It was definitely two of my best tools and the strongest tools that I have by being here. It helps me ensure that, my points of view of people that look like me and talk like me are taken into consideration when we build products and services. And it is amazing to know that, by being here, I'm helping people that look like me. And so definitely a lot of that here at TTS. The other things that were surprising is how much flexibility is for work-life balance here at TTS and at GSA overall, which I didn't know government had. But, our supervisors and people who work with, there's, they respect our personal time. They ensure that we get mental health days when we need it. They're very supportive. Most of all work remotely. Even though I live in the Washington, D.C. metro area, I'm actually a remote employee. So I work from home. As you can see, that's my bed right there. So I'm not hiding it from you all. I work remotely, and so do most of us, and so do the digital core fellows as well. There are some people, because of their work or security reasons, they might have to be in the office from time to time, but a lot of us work remotely, which was also very surprising for me.
I would say that that is so true, Diana. I also can attest to, and that is a surprise, because you may think that it's not a matter of like not following guidelines or anything, but there's a personal feel to it, even though that we are distributed. Some majority of the people are remote, and if I can add something, or I know how we're with time, but another thing that I found surprising was like it's a creative environment. You don't, like, TTS is like a very interesting place. It's a place, full of engineers, designers, people that it feels different from what you may imagine government may feel like. So there's a lot of best practices. There's a lot of sharing and learning from each other, and guilds. And yeah, I would say that from that angle, I was like, I didn't know that I was going to land in such a creative space. I'm a designer by trade, so that was like, okay, I was coming from the nonprofit sector. That wasn't necessarily that space, but here it does feel very different culturally. So yeah, that's just adding that.
That's so true, Rebecca. I will say that was my experience as well. We are a very distributed organization all over the U.S. We have colleagues in Puerto Rico, and the flexibility and how we've embraced being remote. So fun fact, most of TTS has been remote, even pre-COVID, pre-quarantine, pre-pandemic. We've just always been prepared for it. We've embraced it. And the flexibility is really amazing. We are a very family-first organization. I myself don't have, people that depend on me, but I do still benefit from that. So thank you both for sharing your experiences. We also have a lot of me interviewing myself now. I've been really surprised by the amount of support that we have. I mean, we have a Latinx affinity group, diversity, inclusion, and equity is really in the forefront of everything we try to do at TTS, DEI, but we've added the A for accessibility. So I know we have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to take a quick pause here, and I would love, if anybody has questions, please put them in the chat. I do have a final question for Rebecca and Diana before we wrap up, but I want to make sure that we get some of your questions in. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Yeah, whatever you're curious about, don't hold back. I know Civic Tech. I know for me, I had no idea that Civic Tech was a thing. I had no idea that these types of roles existed. And I'll give you while people are hopefully typing their questions, I'll give you some background on me. I started government straight out of college. I won't tell you how long ago that was, but that was a while ago. And I left government, did private sector for a long time, and I didn't think I would want to go back to government, but TT has really changed my mind on that. It is a very unique organization, even within the government. Just such talented, passionate, mission-driven individuals. And when you do very impactful work, it really is a huge motivator. All right, we have a question. How does Civic Tech work around odd elections year? Ooh, good question. Diana, Rebecca, Rebecca, I know you haven't been around for necessarily for an election, but Diana, do you have any input on that? And if not, I'm happy to take that on. But as Marissa put in the chat, we're nonpartisan. Technology is nonpartisan. So go ahead, Diana.
Yeah, I can just a little bit about my experience, but yeah, civic tech work doesn't stop because there's an election. We continue, my experience, we continue working, we continue building product services, we continue making government more accessible for the American public. There might be a change in leadership at some point because we do have some what they call appointed positions, which means the president appoints someone and then Congress decides if they are good or not. Or director is an appointed position, so that person might change. But other than that, not a whole lot has changed. And as I say, I've been here for 5 years, so I've been to like 3 presidential elections now. And yeah, it really just, people are really passionate about the work here. And as Marissa mentioned, it's nonpartisan, so both sides are, want to make sure that the American public has the services they need and access to them. And that's what we're here to do. And so it never stops. I don't know anything you want to add, Omar?
No, that's perfect. I totally agree with you. We're not partisan. Yes, there are shifts in leadership based on who is the administration, currently in power. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is improve the American public's access to services, information, and just overall relationship with government through technology. And I think, no matter who is in office, we can all get on board on that. With that, there's a really good question from Danica. What if we are politically active as applicants? As government employees, we do have certain limitations. If you want to research the Hatch Act. But those limitations are mostly how we use our time within government, right? So I can tell you, we are all in different parts of the spectrum politically. I myself consider myself an activist as well. But Rebecca, I don't know, or Diana, if you have any insight into that before I transition to the last question I have for both of you.
Yeah, I will echo what you mentioned, Omar. There's also, the guidelines are the Hatch Act, and we just, I don't think sometimes we think of government as very political, but once you're in, it's really about the work, and TTS is nonpartisan. So, and even as a political appointee myself, it is something that we just do our best to try to continue to have the focus of the public. So I don't know if that helps with the question.
It certainly does. Yes. Yeah, thank you both so much. So I'm going to ask both of you a final question, and I will say, for those of you in the audience, this is a really important question that I'm going to ask. So I will start with Diana. What are some tips that you'd share about entering Civic Tech, about your experience, and just any tips that you have, and sort of like what you wish you had known before getting into this field?
Yes, I have a couple of both things. A couple of tips. As I mentioned earlier, there are very different ways to get in government. So it's not just what's in USA jobs. So make sure you do your research. As I mentioned, there's the AmeriCorps Peace Corps Hiring Authority. There is fellowships like the Presidential Innovation Fellows or the US Digital Corps. Just make sure you look everywhere for those different resources to get in government. I didn't know until later. Thankfully, I was able to take advantage of that, but definitely there. And we've been telling you a lot about how great the work is, but it's also not easy work. We do work in government, so sometimes we have to deal with bureaucracy, but it's not a deal breaker. It is worth it. And people, there are some policies and guidelines, and people just try to keep us straight, and they're always willing to listen and work with us to make things happen. It might take a little bit of work, but it's worth it. Not easy, but worth it. And what else? Also, as we have mentioned, sign up for those alerts to get notified when our jobs open. Follow us on social media. All of the PIF have Twitter and LinkedIn, so do the Digital Core, and so does TTS itself. So we'll always put our job opportunities there, and you can also learn all the great work we're doing.
Thank you so much, Diana. And Rebecca, would love your input. Any tips that you have?
Tips. I would say consider public service. Oh my God, like this is so rewarding to be able to have be part of changing people's lives, changing how government works for people. I would say tips. Once you're in, like it's large. It takes time to get to understand it, but you eventually get the acronyms. You eventually are able to understand like how different agencies work with each other. So I would say do not put a lot of pressure on like knowing it all at the very beginning. As I said, like government is so large and complex, and government needs people like you. So my tip is for you all to consider it. It is different, rewarding, and really fun. So yeah. And my last tip is to persist. The process to entry government is tricky. Well, I wouldn't say tricky. That's not the word. It can take some time. So persist, and hopefully you can consider one of these different openings. And for PIF, for PIF we recruit once a year. Please stay connected. Go to pif.gov to sign up for our updates. And we're right now working really hard to bring our upcoming cohort in the spring. But we're always looking for brilliant minds and to help us make better government.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for attending our session. Just a few closing notes. Like Rebecca said, PIF will start hiring in around the springtime. So be on the lookout for that. US Digital Core, which is our entry-level early career fellowship. I believe that application will launch sometime this month. So be on the lookout for that. And then we do have other roles, not just PIF or US Digital Core, but we have other roles that we'll continuously be hiring for. So be on the lookout for that. TTS is growing very rapidly. We're going through a transformation period, and we definitely need talent like you all. So please, please, please check us out. And then my biggest tip for successfully applying is look at the specialized experience for each role that you're applying for and apply it to your federal style resume. That is going to make or break whether you get an interview or not. If you want to learn more about that, check out our website. I know the links are being shared in the chat. I will be hopping over to our virtual booth, so please stop by. I will be there in like a minute if you have any questions. And thank you all Thank you, Taqueria. Taqueria has always been a great partnership for us, and I'm really happy to see the excitement around this. So thank you all, and hope to see you at the booth. Take care.